Okay, if we could have just a little bit of cuteness for just a few minutes, because it's fantastic to see what I would safely say is a record crowd for a release by college players. So put your hands together for yourselves. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all here this evening, celebrating the launch of a very special book that marks a remarkable milestone. 100 years of Limerick's own college players. My name is Dave Griffin. I probably know most of you in the room, but for those who don't, I'm Dave Griffin. I've had the privilege of being chairman of college players for a couple of years now, and it's a privilege to be here at this point, March the 20th, 2026, to mark this amazing occasion. A century ago, in 1926, a group of former pupils from St Munchin's College, then located where the Garda headquarters is in Henry Street currently, they decided to keep their love of theatre alive after school. Encouraged by Father Thomas Colbert, I doubt that they could ever have imagined that 100 years beyond that there would be such a gathering and such a celebration of an incredible journey. Over those 100 years, college players have survived world wars, economic hardships, theatre fires, changing tastes in entertainment, and even a global pandemic. And through it all, the constant has been the passion of the people involved: actors, directors, designers, technicians, countless volunteers who believed that theatre mattered and that Limerick deserved great theatre. I'm going to pause there. I will talk to you again in a few more minutes, but I've just set a little bit of the scene, but I would like to take on my first duty of warmly welcoming our esteemed Mayor of Limerick City and County, Mr. John Moran, to say a few words.
I think Dave should have put my speech in next, and I could just have kept this very fancy. Look, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. I guess you came up the stairs earlier into the room, and you could just hear this cacophony of noise coming out of the room, which is such absolute joy to hear, and so many people. And you walk in and you see all these faces that have meant so much to the college players, which has meant so much to Limerick all these now 100 years. It wasn't that difficult to do the maths, I suppose, in terms of it being set up. But what an achievement. And I think you guys all deserve a big round of applause for something like that. It's hard to give yourself a round of applause, but really, on behalf of Limerick, thank you all so very much. The joy, the entertainment that has been brought over 100 years. I was reading the notes earlier about the beginning of the college players, St Munchin School, people who, it was described as people who were very busy and doing stuff, but I'm sure it was lots of people who have had loads of free time to do rehearsals, to do all that comes with it, to set up the stages. And again, we all know that while we go to see the plays, very often you see the people on the front of the stage. Behind every play is so many other people, so many other volunteers, and so many great things that everyone deserves a major pleasure. I don't know, Joan, I think if this is the quality of the books that you can produce, I think we need to see some more about, I mean, I found myself doing what inevitably you do when you get a book like this, is you're leafing through it. As somebody who knows Limerick, I don't know the history of all the people in the room, but you find yourself looking at photographs, and it's just such a brilliant testimony to do that on the 100th anniversary, and to the committee and to everyone that has chosen to do this. It's such a fitting acknowledgement of 100 years. I think equally to be able to bring, and I know you'll probably talk more about the upcoming play, The Ferryman, but and so I'll leave Dave do the details, but to have something like that come to Limerick, what a word play, which we probably will never see again in Limerick. It's hard to imagine as dramatic a play and as complex play, and getting the rights to do that took some negotiating skills. I don't know which of you were responsible for it, but fair play to come here, and hopefully the people of Limerick will come out and support that as they do so many of the years. because of this year that's in it, I think some people in the room know that one of the things I wanted to shine a light on this year is actually theatre in Limerick, and the contribution that we've had in terms of all of the various groups, and you know who the others are. I just want to talk about the college players tonight, because they have been such an amazing part of the city for 100 years. And it's really remarkable to think back that the state was in its total infancy at that time. You know, Ardna Crusher was being built, Limerick was on a particular wave of innovation and everything else. And a group of people came together and said, we're going to just have a play. And we're going to perform a play. And they had absolutely, I'm sure, no understanding that 100 years later, we'd all be standing in this building, which of course was built 100 years before that, and actually celebrating that contribution to Limerick. And if we all had a glass in our hands at the moment, I'd be saying, well, let's toast the book, let's toast 100 years, and let's look forward to another 100 years. There are probably many spouses and friends in the room that are saying, no, we can't cope with all 3 hours and stuff like that. But for those of us who enjoy the other side of things, who get to sit and watch the amazing performances and remember that this is an amateur performance, this is an amateur group that do this, then I just say fair play to you all, and thank you very much on behalf of all the people of Limerick.
Thank you, John, for those kind words, and we were delighted also back in last October when you launched our November production of last year, which was Lend Me a Soprano, and you spoke very kindly of the contribution of college players and that you did want to feature that in your mayoralty. So we're delighted for the support, but it is something that we note that you have a real love and a support for the arts and culture, and that's something that we're all benefiting from. So thank you again for that. Generations of audiences have come to see our productions staged. As we went through this particular research, we found out many, many more theatres the college had tread the boards on. I mean, some of them we didn't even know of them. In recent years, we've been proud to call the Limerick Theatre our performance home. And in recent years, on that stage, we've performed works by very great playwrights such as Arthur Miller, Brian Friel, modern comedies by Ken Ludwig, Michael Frayn, Tim Firth, amongst others, and powerful local writing from the likes of Mike Finn with Pigtown. And I'm sure many of you in the room were able to see some, if not all, of those recent productions. But the story of college players isn't just about the plays that are performed. It's about the people who passed through, some passing through on a journey somewhere else, but many who passed through and stayed many, many years and put loads of their own passion and work and effort into bringing it on that next step further. Through initiatives like the Limerick School of Dramatic Art, and again, you read the book, you find out about these things. The School of Dramatic Art was founded by the great Kevin B. Dineen, and I'm delighted that this evening we have, and he's tall enough to be the one I can see from somewhere, I think he's back down there, is Len Dineen Jr., whose grandfather was Kevin B. Dineen. And we have some lovely pieces in the book that refer to how Kevin really spearheaded the Limerick School of Dramatic Art and nurtured talent as an academy into the main college players. There's a great story all around that. Among the more famous alumni within that School of Dramatic Art, and we have the recorded listings, are Richard Harris, as he was Dick Harris in those days, RTE's Maurice O'Doherty, and PD leader Desi O'Malley also graced the stage. And there are countless others who discovered confidence, creativity, and lifelong friendships through the group. Tonight you'll leave certainly with more knowledge about college players than when you came in, we hope, and a little bit more to come shortly from more of our contributors. I would like to call out some of the faces that I've seen only in the last 15-20 minutes who were delighted to have come to us, having been college players of many years before. Anne O'Brien to my right here. Anne, thank you for being here, but also thank you for a great conversation that you had with Joan some months back as well. Great to do that. Dan, who's going to speak to us shortly, Dan Lawless, a college player from the 1980s and maybe the early 90s, but certainly did a lot there. Matt Kelly, who's a camera RTE's nationwide's Matt Kelly, but Matt also was a renowned college player himself, both on stage and as a director. So delighted to have Matt. Kevin Wallace, where's Kevin? Somewhere down here. Saw Kevin. There's Kevin right in front of me. So Kevin as well started his early days as a college player, went on to greater things in theatre as a producer of significant theatre in the West End in London, and I'm sure many of you will catch up with Kevin as well. They're just a few of the notes. I was also delighted to see an old friend of ours from the 1980s, 90s, who's made it all the way here from Kilkenny, John Kerwick. John, you're very welcome. Great to see you. Well done. Now, tonight is really about the launch of this book. We also have a wonderful exhibition, which is really a reading of that book. In short, we're standing this up for the next 10 days here, so do tell your friends. It's a representation on both sides of these panels. There's 5 of these, so 10 chapters of the book. And it would be here. We've also got some lovely memorabilia in the case over there, and we've got, I know it's behind that screen now, but we've got some wonderful looped reels of recent productions as well that I think you'll find really interesting. The book has been, as Joan referred to earlier in an interview, a passion piece. It's been the love project for the last year. Joan and Niall particularly put a lot of the groundwork into the research and uncovered unbelievable sources of college players' work, much of which has ended up in the book. So that's been really wonderful. Joan, as I said, and Niall have been really central to the writing of those early chapters, and I'd like Joan now to join us for a few moments to just give us a hint of some of that work, but also I know she'd like to thank some people as well. So Joan McGarry.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for making time to come and be with us in marking this monumental milestone of 100 years of college players. Now, firstly, we wish to put on record our sincerest thanks to the book's major sponsor, Kevin Jackson and Jane Harris of Kevin Jackson Architects. Our sincerest thanks. No exaggerations to state that without the generosity of their patronage, this book might never have come to print. Now, we wish to acknowledge Dr. Sean Gannon, Director of the Department of Local Studies, Limerick Library, Watchhouse Cross. It was Sean who introduced us to the astonishing and largely forgotten archive of hundreds of original college player papers, curated and stored in the library by Limerick's first county librarian, Daniel Doyle. Now, Daniel Doyle also happened to be one of the early secretaries to the college players, so it was our luck that he stored those documents in the library. This archive gave us a window into the college players' governing body, and we saw at close range the difficulties and challenges they had, particularly in relation to the setting up of the Playhouse, their home in Theatre Lane. It was the summit of their dreams to acquire it, and they worked long and hard to do so. Now I'd like to refer to our great friend, great dear friend, actor and director, Dan Lawless. It was Dan who granted us access to the archive of his late aunt, Betty. Now, Betty Lawless was a force of nature in the early years of the college players as actor, director, mentor, and committee officer. And while knee-deep in Betty's archive, we came across dozens of photographs, programs, and newspapers. And arguably, the most significant discovery was the invaluable handwritten record of Michael Russell, a player with the group in the decades of the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. We unearthed his meticulously detailed chronology of college players' productions, their directors and dates of staging, allied to those of the junior wing of the group, the School of Dramatic Art, fondly known as the SDA. Now, given time constraints, sadly I'm unable to name everyone associated with this book, but we urge everybody, please do consult our comprehensive list of thanks in the opening pages of the publication. Now, no address of this nature would be complete without referencing our dear and very old friend, James Queally. It was Jimmy who provided us with masses of memorabilia relative to his years with the college players in the mid-50s and 60s. Now, I got to know Jimmy when we both played in Island Theatre's summer season of the Anteroom, way back in 1996. A friendship flourished, largely owing to our mutual connection to college players. And at the end of that season, Jimmy entrusted me with a wonderful memento of college players, the original Playhouse crest, which Jimmy rescued at significant risk to his own life from the awful fire that destroyed the Playhouse on the night of September 4th, 1959. Just a moment. And this is the original college player's crest, rescued by Jimmy. This is the only remaining remnant of the theatre which survived, and it is deeply cherished by the current generation of college players, as it creates a link between the current crop of college players and those of the golden era of the Playhouse in Theatre Lane and our theatrical forebears. Jimmy, it was a daft thing you did, but thank you. We now take the opportunity to acknowledge contributions other than those of Dave Griffin, Niall Moore and yours truly. And they are Pádraig Hastings, Monica Spencer, Jerry Lombard, in addition to the 4 wonderful contributions to the oral history section of the book provided by Matt Kelly, Kevin Wallace, Dan Lawless and James Queally himself. In undertaking a project of this magnitude, we sought advice from several people, and to those advisors we wish to say thank you. Dr. Fiona Brennan, Dr. Maura Cronin, Dr. Paul O'Brien, Dr. Matthew Potter, and of course Dr. Sean Gannon. We also would wish to thank the current committee of college players who supported us during this endeavour and had enough trust and faith in us to let us crack on with the business. Now, we cannot conclude tonight without registering our appreciation for the wonderful work of the creative team of Margarita Bernal Arano and Ken Coleman, who designed this book. They worked fastidiously to make this an object of beauty and a worthy monument to the talents, tenacity and inspiration of our theatrical forebears. Míle buíochas de fáil.
Thank you, Joan, and certainly we hope that before you all leave that you'll have at least a chance to have a look at the book. But there's stacks of them over there in the corner, and at a special launch rate of €20 half. So Pádraig will be doing rounds of the room as well. I want to move on quickly because I'm conscious of people standing. I'd like to call on our special guest who is going to regale us with a couple of his thoughts about college players back a few years ago before I got involved. But I know that having reconnected with Dan over the last number of months, I've been quietly talking to Joan and saying, I think there's another play in Dan. So with that threat, I'm going to ask Dan to say a few words for us as well. Dan Lawless.
Thank you, Mayor John Moran. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, college players, and hello to everybody here. There are people in this room and elsewhere who've been with the college players for a lot longer than I. My grandmother once told me that her cousin Lily McNeice was a founding member of college players. But Joan and Niall's research said she was wrong. It was what we call probably family prowess, because it was founded by men. But Lily was in a play in 1928, because Joan gave me all that information as well. Then my aunt Betty Lawless, an actress with the college players from the 40s, she and they, and when I say they, I mean all the people involved in the college, they loved the college. They loved the SDA, they loved touring with the college players, and yes, they loved their playhouse. They studied acting, they studied fencing, they studied mime, and they loved the Coliseum, or as Betty Lawless used to call it, the Col, which is now the Bell Table. A pal of my father's once said to him on some street in Limerick decades ago, "Do you know your sister is playing a whore below in the Coliseum?" We always thought that that was very funny, but when you read the book, you pick up, because that comment wasn't made in the positive. And Joan and Niall have captured that in the book as well. Also, College Players Association with Micheál MacLiamore and Anya McMaster, in my opinion, exemplifies the standards that college players attained. Betty Lawless got a copy of Micheál MacLiamore's book from Micheál, All for Hecuba, and it's signed, "To Betty, with love, Micheál." Betty Lawless wrapped it in thick brown paper to protect it and mind it, and it's still in the thick brown paper, and it's as safe as it was the day that she got it. My first play was Stephen D at the age of 10. I played young Stephen. My cousin Kevin Wallace, who's here, played the older Stephen. I used to go to rehearsals with Betty. I used to sell programs. They told me I sold the most programs that were ever sold at the college fairs. And I can only assume who could say no to a skinny, blonde child. But anyway. The other thing that I found interesting, and I discussed this with Joan, on the nights I used to spend in the Coliseum, showing people to their seats and selling the programs, by the end of the week, I knew most of the lines of the plays, which now I look back and say that's quite unusual. I sit there and just mouthed them to myself. I didn't say them out loud. Nancy Punch, a Limerick solicitor who many of you will know, was in the shop before Christmas. And she's buying a few flowers, and she said to me, "Will you tell me," she said, "how did you remember all the lines in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern?" And I'm going, I can't even remember when Rosencrantz and Guildenstern was. I do remember it. And back to the point that was made, I can safely say I don't think I would remember a sonnet now. So that knocks something on the head, madam. Anyway. The college players gave us opportunity. They trusted in us as we learned the steps of treading the boards. Our set design, our costume, etc. For all of that, I and we are grateful. Absolutely, yes. And Kevin has alluded to that in the book as well. I did direct their 60th year production. I was only 26. The polite term I put on it was I was very gutsy, as opposed to you know what. But I also, it comes back to the point Kevin made in the book, it was very encouraging of the college players, and I acknowledge that. This exhibition, I love it. It's probably going to be hard for everybody to get to see it. So what I would suggest is come back at a quieter time and absolutely do absorb it. The work that Joan, Niall, Dave and the crew have put into this program, or this publication, is immense. It's highly admirable. I salute you and I congratulate you. I genuinely believe that the ancestors of the college players must be smiling down tonight and taking a proud bow. In my time, I met so many of the college players: Sheila Doherty, Ray Morrissey, Mayo Halloran, who isn't with us this evening, Des Ronan, Andy Butler, Paddy Benson, who they affectionately called Pooh, Eileen Egan. Eileen played Lady Bracknell, and someone said, well, you know, there was no one played Lady Bracknell like Eileen Egan. And that's no offence to anyone else who's played Lady Bracknell. Anne O'Brien, who was here tonight, Jimmy Creeley, Céline Radwell. Céline, when I was going through the programme, she's in the programme as Céline Wallace. And I was saying to Jimmy earlier, when I was young, Betty Lawless used to bring me to Sheila Doherty's in Mayorstone, Eileen Egan's in O'Connell Avenue, Billy McGrath's up the South Circular Road, and over to Jimmy's mother's house in Wickham Street. I have no idea what they were all on about, but I was in all those houses every Saturday morning, and I can only imagine it was all college players' work. Then there's Kevin Dineen, or as they love to call him, KB. What a man. I don't think there was anybody that I have met or known who could say the word theatre like Kevin Dineen. It would be theatre, and he would let it roll and roll and roll. And he used to call into the shop to us in Bedford Row. And one day we were chatting. He used to go to Mass, then he'd go for a few pints, and he'd get the bus home to Punches Cross. How good is that? But one day he came into the shop, and I said, Kevin, are you going to Kilkee this year? No, Dan. Too many ghosts. And it's the way he said everything, you listen to it. And his wife Madge had passed away, and I knew Madge as well, and that's what he was alluding to. But he was a wonderful man. He directed plays, I was in them, and the college players, the older crew in particular, they loved him. Céline Radman, who's here, said he was our God. So that's lovely. Patsy Harold, who was Patsy Sheehan, she told me years ago that they used to go to the college players' plays. Interesting, she never told me she was in the plays, but she was, because she's in the programmes. She said the standard of their productions was so immense that they used to look forward to it. Back then, she said, women didn't go to pubs, and they'd go to the Stella for a coffee. Her whole point was it was the highlight of a week or a month or whatever. In the book that Joan and Niall and Co. have done, it records in 1 year they did 15 three-act plays. That is incredible, absolutely amazing. And they kept going through the Second World War, which also was amazing. Mary Cummins, who directed also for the college players, I believe is here this evening. Many of her pupils went on to do great things. One thing I spoke of with Joan and Niall when we met last August, a theatre archive. I knew what Betty had methodically kept in relation to the college players. Joan came to me in relation to the book. My partner Clive and I were very happy to loan the archive to Joan and Co. to work away with. What I think would be lovely is, rather than it coming out of a drawer in our house and going to a drawer in your house or wherever, that one great legacy the college players could consider giving to Limerick City is the theatre archive. If that is to happen, Clive and I will very happily hand over our bag of papers to that archive. So I'm putting it out there, and we will see. There are also many of you in this room who are currently performing and creating, etc., for college players. Bless you, because you are now the future of college players, and long may you reign. I went to see Lend Me a Soprano. I contacted Brian McNamara after it. It was amazing. The standard was incredible, and just what college players do and have done. So, well done. The next production that you're doing for the 100th, Madam, I believe, is directing. To all who are involved, I just say, have fun and enjoy your trade, absolutely. Clive and I have bought 10 of the books, and you'll go, oh, mother of Jesus, what are you doing with 10? All my family are getting an early Christmas present, so now they know. But what I like about the book is any historian, any student, any thespian that wants any information on the college players, it's all in that book. It absolutely is. I repeat my admiration and my congratulations to Joan, to Niall, to Ken and Co. on this publication. But before I go, Where would I be if we did not mention Kelly? Matt Kelly. What a man. We all loved what we did, and we really immersed ourselves in it. Matt, in my opinion, was way ahead of all of us. He had a vision and he could see the future, and he steered us wonderfully through it. And lastly, I do want to mention Betty McDonough. Betty was stage manager and set designer, a great friend to college players and to all of us. I know you're going to buy this wonderful book, and I look forward to more chats with all of you this evening. It's been wonderful so far. Thank you, college players, and here's to your next 100 years.
Dan, wonderful, and it's really up to me now to close this, and I can see some people out there sort of giving me the this, you know. Do you know my wife? There's a couple of, just one or two little call-outs I want to make. By the way, it would be wrong of me not to mention two other anniversaries that happened this year of other theatre groups in the town. Delighted to see Tony Cusack here. Where are you, Tony? Tony's there somewhere. Sandra's there as well.
Ollie is here from George.
The Panto Society celebrate 40 years this year. And the wonderful torch players who are currently in Charleville with a production of their recently run Dancing at Lunasa, which staged about a week ago in the Bell Table. They're out tonight in Charleville. And Ollie, great to have you here representing torch players. You're celebrating 50 years. Yeah. So whatever was in the water for the years that ended in 6, as a lot of creativity came. A couple of minor thank yous before I go, but they're major in many ways. The GAF is an organisation that we've been absolutely blessed to be partnered with over the last number of years, and as they opened their recent facility in Lord Edward Street, we've had the absolute pleasure of working from the GAF. To Monica Spencer and her team, thank you so much for that relationship. Long may it continue. To the Lime Tree, and I called out the Lime Tree earlier, it's a place where we call home right now for performance. To Louise and Gillian and the team up there, they're wonderful collaborators, and we look forward to a big play in November. Dominic Kazicki, call out for Dominic, who has recorded and on the reels here, as you see on the TVs, wonderful productions of the last 13 years we've had. He's recorded all those on video in recent years. Dominic, wonderful work. I'd like to thank the press and the media who've always been supportive. Limerick 95 FM, Limerick Post, Limerick Leader, Richard Lynch's dynamic I Love Limerick. You can't miss Richard. Richard, thank you so much. And I know that he's already been mentioned, but both of the duo, the dynamic duo of Matt Kelly and Marion Malone, who are here representing RTE nationwide. They've been videoing here. They did some work with us a couple of weeks ago. They will be featuring college players at the start of May, so we'll let you know when that's about to air. As we come, there is a little plug for us as well. Anybody planning to go to the Mayor's Ball, we're going to be part of the celebration of theatre at the Mayor's Ball. We'll be seeing some of this work there as well. So that's on April 17th. And then the mention of The Ferryman. So The Ferryman is the production that we've been very, very lucky to grab the rights for, to produce in November. This is a monumental play. This is the scale of a play we have not attempted in the past, and we're nothing if not ambitious. This is a play that is a very recent play by Jez Butterworth. It started in 2017. It went on to win a clatter of Olivier Awards in London. The following year went to Broadway, won a host of Tony Awards, including Best Play. It's a wonderful saga. It's a political background to a family and human story. It's got a huge cast. Now that this is coming to an end and the work we've been doing will be out in the next week or two, Joan, organising casting because we're going to need a very big cast, we're going to need a very big production team, so you will be hearing from us. So that's going to be in November, and we're looking forward to it. And to close, really, this has been wonderful to have so many people here. It's not about looking back, it's also about looking forward and looking, as Dan rightly said, this is about the next 100 years. This is about the younger generation who will come in and take over from the likes of Pádraig Hastings and I. And we'll come in and lift the boxes and the boxes of wine and so forth. I hope the book will be read not just as a record of the past, but as an inspiration to the next generation. Thank you to everyone who's been part of making this the remarkable journey that I have had the pleasure of working with. And it's only fitting that I call out each and every one of our committee who've been really steadfast over the past year, but also for the last number of years, and who've just done wonderful work for us behind the scenes. Our PRO, Margaret. Where's Margaret? She's there. Our treasurer, Helen Christie, who can't be here. She's away at the moment, but looks after all of the money matters. Committee members, Pádraig Hastings, Bart Kiley. Bart, great to see you here. Brendan Lane, Anya Hogan. There's Anya. Brian McNamara, Mike O'Regan, Joan McGarry herself, and Evelyn Cosgrave, I think, who's been helping with the wines as well. Where's Evelyn? But look, that's you know, it's important that this is not just a 1, 2, 3 person show here. There's a huge amount of work that's gone into this, and I'm just trying to think, have I missed anyone in our thank yous? Yeah.
Just to let everyone know, the jury's food there when we wrap up.
If we'd like to, yes. Sorry, yes. There are a few other. So Joan mentioned the sponsorship we have of the book, which has been absolutely fantastic to have. We have some other activities, as I've said, going on through the rest of the year, and we've been very fortunate to have some other funders come to us. We've been able to raise some funds through Councillor Maria Donoghue. I know Maria was here earlier on, so we're very, very grateful for that. We've also had some funds granted to us by Jerry Boland and the team at JP McManus, and also most recently, and I know Peter Murphy's here representing EI Electronics, who have also been very kind to donate us, and that will be helping us in our big production, as I say. So many thanks to every one of you for here. There's still some wine left, there's some food there. Have a read of all the panels. They're not really laid out in the right way just for space, but have a read of the panels, but more importantly, buy a book.